Time now for business. Let's say hello to Catherine Bennett. Budget time in the United States. Does the word gazillion exist when it comes to the size of the budget?
Not quite, but we are looking at some big numbers here. So Biden is set to announce a $6 trillion fiscal budget for the fiscal year starting in October. And we already saw a skinny budget last month. Well, what we're going to hear about today builds on that and shows us the new president's priorities. Now, there's going to be around 4 trillion euros worth of investment into physical infrastructure in the country and also into social spending. So that includes education and childcare. We'll probably also see a lot of money going towards the Department of Defense and the country's nuclear arsenal. Now, that skews away, however, from what his fellow Democrats want him to do. He does, however, want businesses to raise wages, saying that higher salaries aren't a bug, they're a feature of his new economy. And to finance the plan, he's going to be increasing taxes, mostly on companies and wealthy Americans. Now, if he gets this plan through Congress, it means that federal spending every year will surge, hitting about $8.2 trillion in 2031. And that means that the US deficit could overtake $1.3 trillion in the next decade. Now, Biden has hit back at criticism that his plans are causing the economy to overheat. His opponents think that too much fiscal support for Americans stops them from wanting to get jobs. Here's what Biden said about that.
You can't reboot a global economy like flipping on a light switch. There's going to be ups and downs in jobs and economic reports. There's going to be supply chain issues, price distortions on the way back to a stable and steady growth. In the coming weeks, my administration will take steps to combat these supply pressures, starting with the construction materials and transportation bottlenecks and building off the work we're doing on computer chips.
Well, Biden's ambitious economic plan has been challenged somewhat by recent figures, showing a surge in consumer prices in April and slow job growth. Today, new figures showed that US inflation climbed 3.1% in April compared to the same month last year. That's its biggest year-on-year increase since the 1990s. Spending also increased by 0.5%, with consumers mostly directing their dollars to bars, restaurants and leisure activities. Income, however, dropped 13.1%. Now, the Federal Reserve has been hammering home that any inflationary increases are only temporary, and that, as Biden said, supply chains will have to adapt to shifting prices. Let's see how the markets are doing at the end of the week. Europe markets reached record highs on Friday and closed on a positive note. London's FTSE was just above the flat line, while the CAC 40 and the DAX were up 0.75%. Over on Wall Street, it's also looking at a winning week as stocks opened higher. Dow Jones and the S&P 500 were both up just under 0.5%, while the Nasdaq jumped 0.25%. Oh no, 0.5% actually. Well, moving on to the energy sector, where this week could mark a tipping point for major oil companies. The sector is under pressure from all sides. Governments, shareholders and the general public want them to do more to tackle climate change and cut emissions. The French oil giant Total is the latest to announce that it's turning over a new leaf, as Ellen Gainsford explains.
There are big changes afoot for big oil. In the latest shockwave to the industry, Total's shareholders have overwhelmingly voted to approve a rebrand of the company, shifting towards renewable energy.
Today, to contribute to the sustainable development of the planet facing climate challenge, we are moving forward, together, towards new energies. Our ambition is to be a world-class player in the energy transition. This is why Total is transforming and becoming TotalEnergies.
Total's climate strategy aims for carbon neutrality across its global operations by 2050, bringing it in line with targets set in the Paris Climate Agreement. The company's announcement comes after a turbulent week for big oil. On Wednesday, ExxonMobil and Chevron faced rebellions from their shareholders over their approach to climate change, and a judge in the Netherlands ordered Royal Dutch Shell to take more aggressive action to drive down its carbon emissions.
It's for the first time in history that the judge has decided that the large polluter, Royal Dutch Shell, should stop causing dangerous climate change. This will have an enormous impact not only on Shell itself, but on major polluters throughout the Netherlands and globally.
Pressure for change isn't likely to let up. Last week, the International Energy Agency warned that oil companies must stop all new oil and gas exploration projects from this year if global warming is to be curbed.
Twitter has listed a new paid subscription service on certain app stores called Twitter Blue. Well, the social media company has previously said that it's looking to diversify its revenue. At the moment, it makes the bulk of its money through advertising and data licensing, but it ended 2020 with a net loss of $1.1 billion. So Twitter Blue could be a solution to that. A subscription would cost around $2.99 a month, and although details are thin on the ground at the moment, it could give you extra features such as the ability to undo tweets or to organise your favourite tweets into folders called collections. So there you go. They're looking for new revenue streams, seeing as they did so badly last year.
Interesting. Many thanks for that. We'll have the closing word on Wall Street later. Catherine Bennett with all the day's business news.